Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode today. You may know my name is Dan. What you may not know, unless you see it on your screen, is I've got a guest here. His name is Brian. His nickname is Bones, and his surname is Jones. So when you put that together, you got Brian Bones Jones. Brian is a great, what would you say, artist, illustrator? What would you call yourself, Brian?
I'd say illustrator and
Illustrator?
and fellow Canadian
That's right. They're very important to point out, at least for me, that we are both Canadians. That has nothing to do
and
with why we're speaking, but it's cool that we are.
and from Toronto.
Same as me. Couple of homeboys here. Now I'll
Yeah.
start before we get to Brian's portfolio, and I have a bunch of questions for him. I'll explain, and Brian can interject here if he feels uh, the need. The reason that we're talking today is Brian. Some of you may know when I went to see Metallica about a month ago at the end of September. I went to 2 shows. I was having a hard time personally, professionally, a lot of bad things going on with my life. Um, couldn't really get too much work. That's still not picking up as much as I would like to. And I did a video asking if people could, maybe if they wanted to, or if they could help me out to get me to go see Metallica. A lot of people stepped up, including Brian. Brian was one of them. So thank you, Brian. Our first face-to-face meeting, I'll tell you that.
You're very
Um,
welcome.
Now, in addition to the donation, that was under the guise of, it wasn't just like I wanted, oh, give me your money. It was almost like taking requests. And so if anybody wanted to donate, they could make a request to do any video, which I've got. I think I still have one more to do, which I can't do yet because I have to actually go out of my house, and
Yeah.
it's going to be an on location to do it for Dallas. My friend Dallas, also Canadian, in Saskatoon. And Brian requested me to do something with Pushead, right? Because you're a big Pushead fan.
No. Never. Who?
Okay. That guy, I think he does t-shirts. Um
This guy.
that guy, yeah, Pushead.
Yes.
Also Brian, right? Is it Brian Schrader is his name?
Brian Schroeder, I believe.
Brian or Ryan?
Brian.
Okay, that's what I thought. Oh,
Yeah.
Schrader. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you would ask me if I could do like a Pushead video showing Pushead
Yes.
things that I have, which I have a bunch of shirts, like everybody's seen Crash Course in Brain Surgery and, the other ones I have. And I said, okay. And then I thought, I don't know, if I could do more than a short video. So I suggested this in place. Now, this also came because you, Brian, sent me some unbelievable posters that you had done.
Thank you.
And I'm going to show those now. I can show them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and then we can kind of kick it off with that. So these are, I'm going to show these posters that Brian did as I step away from the mic. Very unprofessional. So I've got these posters here that Brian did and Brian sent me. And I posted these in a Metallica Mexico Facebook group and had overwhelming response to them. People love them. I especially, and I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to Brian. I honestly like these. These were, at least 2 of them are for the Mexico City shows, and then there are a couple of other ones. I honestly like these better than the original ones. Brian and I talk fairly regularly, text. And so when the Metallica shows came and they, the posters are only shown the day of the show. So I went to one show on the first weekend, another show the next weekend. And to be honest, I didn't really love the poster from the first weekend. The one I'm talking about, right? The skull.
the darker
Very dark. Yeah,
grayish.
it was.
Yeah.
That's right, with the red Metallica logo.
Yeah. I
Hey, it
won't
was
say the
fine.
artist's name,
I
but
can't remember his name. You know it, right?
I know it. Yeah, I'm not going to say his name, but
Is it
I don't
start
want
with?
to. What's that?
I remember one of them. Is it? Does it start with P?
No.
I can't remember who. I know the names, but I can't remember. I'm not saying anything bad about them. It's just,
Yeah,
I
I'm
know.
not either.
Yeah,
I'm not
people love those posters, but I generally like. I guess there are different things. I like colorful posters, bright, warm colors,
Yeah.
which is what these are. So let me show these one at a time. So these are posters that Brian did. There's one. and he sent these to me. Now this is and I love the bright, the yellow. It's the 72 seasons color scheme. It's got the skull with the sombrero, and the sombrero has it says Mexico City. It's got the 72 seasons world tour under the Metallica logo, and then down there as well, Mexico City.
Nice.
Love it. Yep. And so that was for now the dates of these, and on it does have also Brian's signature there. And so that was one. Let me put this down. Maybe this one is my favorite.
Yeah, I'd say out of the three, I absolutely love that.
Yeah, and it's a minor thing, but I love the kind of splatter logo.
Yes.
It just
think
I
it
like it better than the
I think
more
it fit that. And I don't
flat.
know, like I put in a lot of little Easter eggs. So if you look on his chest, see if you can pick up what I added in.
Oh, I see the hammer of justice. Ah, I hadn't noticed these. Oh,
Did
I
you
see a lot
see?
of things. There's like a band. Yeah, the hammer of justice. I see a lightning bolt. I see the crosses. I guess that's from Master of Puppets. I see the scales of justice, the snake. You're right. I hadn't noticed that. Yeah, this is like the Iron Maiden Power Slave cover.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They're
very
good.
cool. Yeah, I hadn't noticed that. And then down at the bottom, there's some pyramids, and it's also got the Mexico City. It says Mexico City there, so that's another one. And a third one is whoops, is this one.
Nice.
And this is kind of got a Day of the Dead theme, which is where for me, it's for Brian and I, as we're recording this, today is October 30th, and November 1st is the big Day of the Dead celebration. And in my city, Cuernavaca, it's the second largest Day of the Dead celebration in all of Mexico.
Is
This will
it?
be there's a place where people go. This will be my 19th consecutive year. I've never missed it. So I'll be going
Where
there on
does
Friday.
Oaxaca City rank?
I mean, I don't know if there's an official ranking. I think the best one is considered to be in Pátzcuaro, which is a very small island in a state called Morelia.
Yeah.
Sorry, Michoacan, Morelia. I can never remember. Is it Morelia, Michoacan, or Michoacan, Morelia? And then my city, Cuernavaca, the part of my city is called Ocotepec. I think Oaxaca probably has decent celebrations too.
Yeah, because my girlfriend and I we did like a 14-day trip to Mexico a few years ago, and we ended up in Oaxaca City for Dia de Muertos, and it just blew our minds.
Mm.
I could not believe uh, the color, the atmosphere, the noise, the parades, the awesome drinks, all of that. So it was, yeah, just stuck with us.
Yep. And I'll be going to on Friday, November 1st, as I will have for the last 19 years, be going to a cemetery. I start my day or my night at a cemetery. There's always like a party there. People are drinking, listening to music, and then I move on. So there will be a video for that, as there has been
Nice.
for the last 19 years too. So this has some real cemetery stuff here. There's it's a tombstone with 72 on it, and a grave, and the flowers and skulls around it. Very, very Dia de Muerto y. And also
So
again, we've got,
there's also another meaning behind that.
what is that?
So I believe that's the September 29th, correct?
The date is September 29th. That's right.
Yeah, so I thought, like, before they announced more dates, like that was it. I thought that was the end of the tour. And it just seemed kind of fitting where, okay, the tour was kind of laid to rest.
I
And
thought so too. I was kind of
yeah,
surprised. Yeah, you're talking about when they added those dates
yeah,
about a few weeks ago in
yeah,
the US, and then last week they added more in Australia.
that's right.
Yeah, I was under the impression that Mexico wasn't just the end of the leg; it was the end of the tour.
Yeah, I thought it was the end of the tour for sure.
Yeah,
And that was like it.
yeah, I thought so too.
So
Yep. All right. So there's another little thing I notice here you've got a bunch of guitar picks, the yellow Metallica guitar picks down here. I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah. The
Kind
detail,
of
right? It's crazy.
yeah, yeah, cool. And again, for all of these, all three of these, I love that there's so much yellow and orange. Like I said, I like bright
Yeah.
and warm colors. And then a couple of other ones not related to Mexico. I go off mic again. I really like this one. I wish this one were for Mexico. I love this poster. Maybe, I don't know, maybe my favorite. I don't know that one. Well, hold on, let me show it from here.
Yeah, I think of all
This is for Phoenix.
the pieces that I've done. I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, this one's really cool. But can I give a little critique?
Sure.
Or no, not a critique. And maybe it would have been too cliche. I feel like there should have been a Route 66 sign because Route 66 passes through Arizona.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, next time.
So this was one for Arizona, September 3rd, 2023, State Farm Stadium. Yeah, really cool. And it's the M72 machine. I guess that's a nod to the Mystery Machine from
That's
Scooby-Doo.
right. Yep.
Okay. Yep. All right, cool. And it's got the tires are flat too. I hadn't noticed that. Cool little details. All right. Now, this is my favorite. This one is very personal for me.
Oh, right.
Let me just show this. And when I posted all these in this Metallica Mexico group, and they each got a couple of hundred likes. This one got about 1,000.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
let me show it and then I'll talk about it. Wow. Now, the reason why I like this the most, it could have been the most boring poster ever. I was at this show. This was my first Metallica concert, January 19th, 1985 at the Concert Hall in Toronto. They were sandwiched between Wasp headlining and Armored Saint opening. And I was in shock when I looked at your portfolio. I was, when we first met, and I was looking through Metalhead Mafia, by the way, right?
That is correct.
Metalhead Mafia. And I looked at Metalhead Mafia and I, was scrolling through and this one stood out. And I thought, I seriously, I was almost going to cry. I thought, oh my God, it was just cool for me to see a digital image of it. I just thought, okay, well, that's where it ends. It's a digital image. It's really cool. I could save it to my device. And then Brian mentioned that I think you had one lying around, right? Is this right? This is one you had extra lying around?
Yeah.
And then you graciously sent all of these to me. And man, this one is great. Now, this one doesn't have the warm colors of the other ones, but it does have the bright. Oh man, I just love this poster.
Yeah.
And to think that I now have a poster from my first Metallica show. Let's show this one again.
Yeah. Now I think that I try to keep some kind of theme kind of parallel to like a city or like the album, the colors or, stuff like that. So there's a little bit of a tie-in together, especially when doing like a specific city. I try to put in like maybe a skyline or just something where it's more specific to that specific city. CN Tower, look at that.
There's the Toronto skyline. Yeah. Very familiar. Yeah, it's cool to have a local touch, something that and I've been buying gig posters for 20 something years. And it's not necessary, but it is nice when there are little kind of local touches. Some of them are obvious. Like for Mexico, you and I talked about this. There are so many visual components of Mexico. You got cactus, sombreros, mariachi, Day of the Dead stuff, wrestling, luchadores, tacos, tequila, mezcal, big mustaches, things like that. There's so much you can do with Mexico. And I guess for some cities or countries, it's a little bit more difficult, but I like that kind of, touch that makes it a little bit personal to the city or the country. I like it when they kind of put obscure, references on posters.
Yeah, I kind of get confused when you would see a gig poster and it's so generic. It could be used for any part of the tour, where a band's playing. So that's just my opinion, but I like to put in a little something that's
Well, that's something
somehow
I
connected, right?
yeah, that's something I wanted to ask you. And since you brought that up, we can go into that now. So when you're doing a poster, like you said, you like to have something personal. But some posters, like looking at the ones on my wall right now, um, a lot of them don't have, I mean, if you could easily swap out the city for
Yeah.
another city and it could, it would still be a cool poster, but there's nothing you know, particular about it.
Yeah.
Now, can you do that? Like, for example, I mean, if you're doing something specifically, I guess what I'm asking is, can you reuse ideas? Like, for example, if you had done this, well, you did do these Metallica posters, and they weren't chosen or selected as the
Yeah.
official posters, but now because they're for Mexico, they are, you can't use those for
No, it's not like I could
Philadelphia.
use those pyramids for New York City.
That's right. That's right. So what do you do? Does that design end up kind of
Like
going
that's it. That's the
going to
end. It's
waste?
on to the next.
So is that could that be an argument for making more generic posters? Is it you can recycle them?
Maybe for some artists and some bands, because I know I don't know if you've been following the pop-up store specifically for Metallica, where they do the pop-up store posters. And I think there was one, and they reused it. It must have been at least a dozen times. They just changed the color combination.
I did see that. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I can't remember the design, but they just kind of geared the colors more towards like the city, like their sports team, or
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
do.
know. I For me, I find that's a bit lazy, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, I do have one of my. Actually, it was the first one I ever bought, and I mean, you can't see it on the camera, but when I do the I want to talk about this album
Mhm.
videos, you can see it. The one directly above my head. It's Pearl Jam from 2003 in Buffalo, New York, and I saw that show. And they also had the same poster for Long Island, New York, and Albany or Syracuse, I think, because it's kind of got a little bit of the Lady Liberty, Statue of Liberty thing, and it's the same thing. They took the design, just changed the colors, and then
Yeah,
changed, Buffalo, Albany,
yeah.
uh,
So
Uniondale.
was this the city just highlighted?
No, each one does have a different city name. I know
Oh,
Metallica
okay.
highlighted them. They would have like
Yes,
6 cities, and
yes,
then that particular city was highlighted. Now
right.
this only does have the name of the one city.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I mean the actual yeah, that's the only difference. The art is exactly the same. And I know I do have some other posters that and again there's nothing wrong with them, that I know because I know some of these artists in Mexico that they were taken from old designs, and they just made a few modifications and
Yeah,
add Mexico City to it.
yeah.
And that's another question I want to ask you. Somebody pointed out in the Metallica group when I posted your posters there. People like to be critical and they like to think that they catch things that, you know, sometimes they're very obvious. They pointed out, now the guy didn't say that they suck. Actually, he was very complimentary, but he said, "Oh, if I could change something, he's got the wrong name because at the time you did the posters, the stadium was called Forosol, but they changed the name of the stadium to from Forosol. I think it was only about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, to
See that
Estadio GNP. So
now.
is that mhm,
So the show was in, or the shows were in September. I did those actually over a year ago.
right? That's what I mentioned to the
So
guy.
they
Yeah.
just been kind of sitting around for, and I had no idea they changed the name on that. So
Mhm.
yeah, whatever, that's fine.
But if it's something like that, something that's let's and I'm sure this happened with the official posters that they were selling at the shows. How far in advance are these gig posters done? Like, is a year normal? Is it normally less time than that?
Like the official ones.
Yeah, the ones for example, the ones they were selling in Mexico in September. When
Oh,
when do you
it's
think the artist did those?
I'm thinking like 6 months out.
Okay. So that's an easy thing to change, right? If a date change, and now another thing with this Phoenix poster that you gave me that I showed, that one changed too, because that was when Hetfield had COVID. Now you have the date of September 3rd, which was correct at the time, but that one
Mm,
got postponed to September 9th. So
okay.
is that something that is easily fixed by on your end if
Uh,
they're not printed already?
oh yeah, like it can be changed. It's just if you're so close to the show that um, they've already been printed, yeah, that's an issue. You basically have to, well, can we use those, or do we just scrap them?
Or they become collector's editions, eh?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, like a misprint or something like that, right?
right. Yeah, actually, the another one that I have on my wall here, it's another Pearl Jam one that was in London. And by the way, all my posters are from shows that I've been to. I as much as I could love other posters, I just can't, I got to control myself. I already have probably 40 something posters, otherwise I'd end up with hundreds.
Yeah,
So this one from London, it was on September 12th, and they spelled 12th. They forgot the F
they
in
did.
12th. Yeah. Yeah, TWELTH with no F. It's
Okay.
a minor thing. Minor
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. That's actually reminds me. I remember. Actually, you might have picked up the shirt. So when you went to see Metallica in '85, did you grab a tour shirt?
I did, and I can show you because I do have that
Because if
picture
you
on hand.
notice on the back, they misspelled Ottawa.
One T,
It was Ottowa.
October. Well, let me show you the shirt that I remember. There were two shirts. This one, there's the one I got,
Yep.
and that was kind of like not exactly Ride the Lightning. Like I mean, just the electric chair with the guy sitting in it, a close up. The other one that my friend got, it was the actual Ride the Lightning album cover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I guess they probably both had the same back.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Well,
I
just
mean, and I
take
remember
a look at the back, and Ottawa spelt wrong, which is kind of funny.
I don't have that shirt anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, I've seen misprints on shirts and
Yeah.
other things too. I remember Kiss in one of like in one of the last shows they did in their final year or something, they misspelled Pittsburgh maybe or not they, but whoever
Yeah.
was in charge of the merch
Yeah.
had a city misprinted on it. And I
Yeah.
think it was the event shirt. It wasn't just like a bunch of cities on the back.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
well,
anyway.
better that than the whole tour.
Yeah. All right. All right. Now, so you mentioned Pushead at the beginning. So who else were you? No, how did you get into this business of illustrating, or what age were you, and what were your
Yeah,
inspirations?
I think it all started. So my older cousin, whoops, dogs.
Your
Uh,
dog, here's my dog.
my older cousin, he was really into metal, um, early '80s. He was really into Metallica and Iron Maiden and all of that stuff. So that kind of you know left an impression on me, and I loved the artwork of the album covers, and yeah, I love the aggressive music and all of that combined. It was like the perfect storm, and I was kind of like I think I would have been 12, 13 at the time. I was starting to notice, yeah, I was creative and loved art and stuff like that. So, and then growing up in Toronto, there was a great scene in downtown Toronto, and like every Friday, Saturday, we'd go into the city and go to like Sam the Record Man and the
Cheapies,
Record Peddler and
records on wheels.
A&A's,
Yeah, and A,
you
the
know,
big one. Yeah, yeah.
and
Right beside
on.
Sam's.
And yeah, it was, I don't know, it was it was like almost magical where, uh, and I think at that time metal was really starting to take off, and it was, uh, during high school, you wore your leather jacket and your high tops and your ripped jeans and all of that stuff. So it just kind of all came out of that. And I was lucky enough where I went to a high school that was very art specific. They had a really good art program. So we had some great instructors. They had, you can do screen printing, you could do, uh, you know, I don't know, litho, a bunch of stuff that you would never get at, a regular high school. So yeah, by the time I got into like grade 12, yeah, I was kind of like, okay, this could go somewhere. And yeah, I applied for Sheridan College in Oakville, which is about an hour outside of Toronto. And at the time, they had a really, really good animation program. And I was kind of like into the whole anime uh, scene. Um, so yeah, I applied, and I was lucky enough to get in. And yeah, I felt from there everything kind of just skyrocketed as far as my talent. And yeah, it was incredible. So, and always along the way I was into screen printing and printing my own. Actually, my first screen printed t-shirts were Alcoholica,
Mm.
like way back, uh you know late 80s.
I
So
remember
yeah,
that
that
one.
was
That was
one of
it
my
was like
first shirts I've ever printed.
a cartoon. It was Alcoholica in red, and it was like a
Yes.
cartoon caricatures of them,
And it
right?
was like an anime James Hetfield.
Hatfield, that's right. Yep.
So yeah, stuff like that. And then eventually got into Sheridan, and it kind of expanded more into uh, the thinking of animators, thinking in 3D, which was fantastic. I love the teaching there. Really changed my mind as far as the thought process going into designing something, balance, color, all of that stuff. So um, other artists out there will definitely relate to that. But yeah, getting into college, I was like, I think I'm gonna do something with this. And
All
then
right.
I think I got third year into college, and I'm like, well, I really don't think I'm gonna go down the animation route, for Disney or Nelvana at the time. So I decided, okay, I think I'm gonna do like design for bands and the screen printing part of it, which I was already doing on the side anyway, and learning and trying stuff out. So I finished school, worked for a year or so full time, saved up some money, and was able to, buy a screen printing machine, rent a little shop, maybe like, 200 square feet, and just went from there. So that was, wow, early 90s.
All right. And you mentioned a few minutes ago litho, and you mentioned screen printing a few seconds ago. And that's something I kind of wonder about, and maybe you can explain this.
Sure.
Now, I'm sure there's some, a lot of these people, and I like posters, but I mean some people are like hardcore about it.
Oh,
Man,
I know.
they dedicate their lives to it, and
I
they'll
know.
I'm not quite that much, but I do like them. And now in the Guns N' Roses poster world, because they started when they, made their comeback in 2016, they started selling gig posters, and which I have one on my wall right now. Now they're the only band that I've seen that advertises them as lithos. They call them lithos. Everybody else calls them posters. And in Guns N' Roses poster groups, everybody says, "Does anybody have the litho for this show? I'm looking for this litho, or I have an extra litho." Um, and you and I talked I guess a month ago after these shows, the posters that I got for the first show, the poster that I got for the first show, the official one, the texture of the print was something I'd never seen before, and I kind of showed it to you, and I don't know if I
Yeah,
explained it properly. It has almost like lines, like you can, if you run your fingernail across it, it goes
yeah,
like, zzz, 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 zzz,
yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Um, and it feels like if you took some water and went like this on it, nothing would happen. Like it feels like it's like coated. Now, the most like 95% of the ones that I have, the screen printing ones, they're the texture of the ink is it's almost chalky and dry, and it feels like, I don't know if it would, but it feels like if you wet your finger and went like that, it feels like the ink would um you know dissolve or kind of
Yeah,
disperse or something. And now these ones that you sent me are not like either of those.
I know.
And then the lithos, the Guns N' Roses lithos, is another different thing. So what's the difference in the printing types?
So I guess screen printing is the most popular one, and I think
Yeah.
for me that's my favorite. With screen printing, it's like that old school way of how they did it, like back in the 50s, 60s, and then getting into the psychedelic posters. It was really cool. Um, the advantage of doing a screen print is your colors are very powerful, especially in the fluorescence. So your fluorescent pinks and yellows and greens. Uh, that's why they pop so much, because it's printed that way. It's an ink, and you print it, and you could never ever duplicate that through like a printing machine or like a printer, desktop printer. So that's why I like here, there. So that's screen printed. You can see the pinks and orange there. That's the fluorescent
Yeah.
inks you can print. You would never ever get that effect through like lithograph or just regular poster printing.
And it's more expensive, right? Screen printing is more expensive.
It's like this is more time consuming.
So
You're
more
printing
expensive.
one color at a time, letting it dry in a drying rack. Then you got to register the next color,
Yeah.
print that. Yeah, it's very time consuming. You got to be on the ball because the registration could come out at any time. But if you get it right, the result is pretty cool.
And I think it's the more colors, the more expensive, right? Because
Yes.
I always see this advertised as, three color screen printing or four color. You never see more than four colors. It's usually three, occasionally two, and occasionally four. But at three seems to be the standard, three colors. Is that right?
I would say for Metallica, because I know them, you're probably looking at 7, 8, 9 colors.
Really? In
Yeah,
screen printing?
for screen printing. Yeah.
Maybe that's just good. Maybe I'm thinking of the older style when I first started kind of buying them 20 years or 20 something years ago.
Well,
They were
maybe you're
usually
thinking
advertised.
of the CMYK process. So like four color process, which is a whole
Huh?
other thing.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's something different then.
That's
Okay.
more like from a printer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how they print.
All right.
Yeah.
And what about the paper? How much like the ones on the paper on the ones you sent me feels different than like the paper that you
Yeah.
used is heavy, like it's heavier than those old posters of Farrah Fawcett when you were a kid that you put on your wall.
Yes.
It was like,
Almost like newsprint.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. Very, very thin and delicate. They got ripped very easily.
yeah.
Now the official posters I bought were much heavier, and the ones that you printed are very close to being as thick and heavy. What about the quality of the paper?
Yeah, huge difference. If you get a tighter knit fabric or material in the paper that'll hold ink better. It'll sit more on top
Mm,
of the paper, which
instead of absorbing
actually,
it?
yeah, which will actually make the colors more vibrant. Um, yeah, like I don't know how I stumbled on to what I do, but my paper, it almost, if you feel the back, it's almost got a bit of a waxy, slate waxy feel to it, and
Okay.
that allows the ink to sit on top of the paper and not blend in. Like some, you'll find some bands or just any posters in general where the image looks muddy and
Hmm.
it's dark, and so part of the problem is the printing process and how they did it. So you could create the most incredible artwork, but in the printing part of it, you can just totally blow it, depending on how the printer takes the image and prints it. So that's a big deal. It's a big
Okay.
deal.
All right. And now the kind of a big question I have is how do you get into this? Like how do, for example, you know, I guess is it like basically when you do posters like this, is it like actors that audition for a role and you know you go and there's 50 people, 100 people auditioning and only one person gets it?
Kinda.
Is it like that? Like you make a
Yeah.
design and you submit it and then the band or their camp chooses the one that they like?
Yeah. So I think I've been like really hardcore on the gig poster stuff for a good 6 or 7 years now. And I'm always building my portfolio and trying to make contacts and all of that stuff. But I'm just finding it's really tough to break in with an art director or merch company that is connected with these bands. So it just takes time and time and time and word of mouth and the quality of your work. So uh, currently, I would say I kind of feel like I'm in like the minor leagues of the art design and gig poster society, where uh, like I've done official work for the Tragically Hip,
Mm.
um, Blondie.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Yeah, who
Yeah,
are some of the
so
bigger names? Yeah, that's pretty yeah, man, Tragically Hip, you can't get bigger than that in Canada.
yeah, so for me now, it's like, okay, just keep building the portfolio, reaching out to art directors, merch companies, kind of uh, basically just keep knocking on the door, banging on the door, let them know that you're there and what you do, and hopefully one day, you'll get that call.
Alright. And do you have to pester?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, you just gotta always, yeah, you gotta be a pain
And
in the
it's
ass
like
about it.
a lot of the time where you send out, emails, communications, packages, whatever, you won't even hear back. Not even a thank you or fuck you. It's, yeah, you just crickets.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess for a band like Metallica or somebody of that level, you know, the obviously the it's overwhelming, you know, you can't, you know, it's like, "Don't call us, we'll call you" kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I mean, they can't
Yeah. So
contact everybody.
you'll notice in the Metallica world of gig posters, a lot of the same people are doing their stuff over and over again.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah, I've seen some
Unfortunate.
familiar names.
I get what they do. Like they're a business. They want to grow their business. They want to build their brands. Uh, but you know, there's other artists out there too, not just me, that are doing some very good work, and it'd be nice to kind of give them a break as well.
Yeah, spread it out, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's a struggle. It's a fun struggle, but it's a lot of work too.
And something I wondered, and I don't know if you have the answer to this, why do some bands do posters and some don't? Like, I mean, the most puzzling thing to me, and I was just talking about this with a good friend of mine last week, and we've mentioned this a couple of times over the years. You know, I'm going to see Iron Maiden here in a couple of weeks. And, you know, other than maybe Kiss, and maybe not even that's true, is there, you know, there's not a more marketable merch
Yeah,
friendly band than Iron Maiden. Why
exactly.
hasn't Iron Maiden got into the gig posters? Kiss never get into the gig posters.
Ask
You know, Metallica was late to the I think Metallica only started in 20
16.
No, no, no. They did posters here in 2012 when they did their 8 nights here.
Oh, okay.
Um, as far as I know, that was the first year of
Okay.
Metallica doing gig posters. But man, like, so why aren't, and I know you don't have the answer
Uh,
specifically for these bands.
ask
Why don't Iron Maiden and Kiss do them?
ask Ron Smallwood.
Rod Smallwood. Is
He's
it a man? But
the
I would think
manager of the band.
that's right. But I would think, the more
Oh, they
and
would
Iron
make a
Maiden is
fortune,
not.
honestly. They would
Hmm?
make a fortune. I think they
That's what
would
I'm saying.
actually make more than Metallica would.
Man, Iron Maiden fans are, yeah, they're very dedicated. Very,
Yeah.
very dedicated.
Yeah. Um, yeah, like I follow a lot of their their tours, and a lot of the fans who also have channels on YouTube, and they'll do
Mhm.
like
Yeah, me
vlogs,
too.
and they'll do like a city to city to city kind of vlog.
Yep.
Cap and Harris would be one. I don't know if you're aware of her.
Metal Pilgrim.
Metal Pilgrim, yeah, I've heard of that one
Yep.
too. So, but yeah, it's kind of unfortunate where you're kind of they got a million T-shirt designs,
Oh, yeah.
but the hardcore fans, they've already have them after the first show. So if they do like a specific gig poster for that city,
Well,
they're going
that's
to
what I
pick up
guess.
at that show, the next show, the following show, the show after that, like in each city. So the band is making more money.
That's what I'm saying. Maiden have, like Metallica, they have the event shirts, they call them, that are
Yeah,
specific to that show. I well, or that country. Like I know they just played in Toronto the other day,
they
and
did.
Montreal and Quebec City. I know the shirt was for all three cities. So I mean, I think you've got the design. Why not? Why limit it to? And Pearl Jam is great with this. And you don't think of Pearl Jam as a merch band, but if you've already got the design, because Pearl Jam will take that design and they'll put it on posters, t-shirts, and stickers.
Okay.
I just feel like Iron Maiden and Kiss, Iron Maiden especially, are really missing out by, I mean, in a way, I'm kind of thankful because I'd be living, in a cardboard box if I was buying Iron Maiden posters
But
at all the
your
concerts I saw.
but your walls would look great.
Well, if anybody's going to donate anything, they should donate more wall space to me. That would be nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always thought, man, my Iron Maiden is really missing the boat.
Yeah, absolutely. And even as a kid, man, they just blew my mind with
Yeah, me too.
the images, and Derek Riggs, the artist. So
Yep.
hold on one sec. Oh,
Take your time.
my puppy's being. Say hi to Dan.
Oh, there's your dog.
Baxter.
Lhasa Apso or Shih Tzu?
Multi-poo.
I always get all those breeds mixed up.
Yeah.
Maltese, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, he's just being difficult.
And so what
Sorry,
happens? So
bud.
once you get your poster approved, so let's say, I don't know, that you submit your poster and it gets approved. What for the bigger bands especially? What's the next step? Like, who are you? Is it your cost and up to you to print it? Or I would imagine for a band like Metallica, they take care of everything, right? On that
So,
level.
most times it's a company that can do everything, or they're connected to a printing company. So the artist will do the work. They'll get a flat fee for
Okay.
doing the original design, and then uh, the band will print how many they ever, how much they want to print, say
And
like
then
five.
Metallica owns that art, or is it licensed
With the logo, yes.
with the logo? Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But I've seen some artists too where they'll do a design with the logo, but they still have the rights to their artwork. So they'll do another version
Uh,
minus the logo, and they're okay. But usually, from what I understand with the bigger artists, is they'll get a flat fee. Say they print 1,000 pieces, and from that, the artist will be given maybe like 75 or 100 of their own that they can sell
yeah, the AP.
to make more money.
And those are often alternate, right? Maybe a little maybe
Sometimes
sometimes like
yes.
foil
Yeah, sometimes
paper.
yes. There's some foils in there as well.
Yeah. Color
It just
variants.
it just depends on the agreement that they make with the merch company or the band management. So it can vary a little bit, but that's pretty close to standard.
All right. And now that brings me to another question. So these posters you give me, they're I guess officially unofficial because they weren't
Exactly.
sold at shows. Now, are you allowed to sell those? I would assume not. You can give them like you gifted them to me,
Right.
but you're not allowed to sell them. I mean,
It's
it's like
frowned
I mean,
upon.
in Mexico, it's like selling bootleg shirts,
Yeah.
but realistically, you're not supposed to sell it with their logo, right?
Yeah, it's very frowned upon.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not gonna get your foot in the door
No.
if you're selling posters
Right.
out the back of your door.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, because somebody did ask me when I posted these in the Mexico Metallica group. They said, "Where can I buy those?" And I said, "I don't think he's allowed to sell them."
Right. That's more about building the portfolio and getting attention from from the merch companies, uh,
It's like a
art
giant business card.
directors. Yeah,
Instead of a business
exactly.
card, it's like
That's a
this,
good.
right? Or like this conversation,
Exactly. Yeah.
you're kind of spreading the word,
True.
promotional items.
True. So yeah, it's just doing the grinding and the knocking on doors and uh, you know stuff like that.
And what about do bands give I guess on Metallica's level not, but like let's say Tragically Hip or Blondie. Um do bands give instructions? I know a few of these artists in Mexico City, and one of them told me that Queens of the Stone Age, one of their I guess stipulations is I don't know whether this is obvious or just it could be a slight touch, but apparently they always want some kind of devil in there. They want it to be like a devil theme, and they want something sexy.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's normal.
okay.
Like say an art director will see an artist they like,
Mhm.
and it's for a reason. So they would say, okay, we like what you do. Um, we want you to do this, but we need you to include A, B, and C in that design somewhere, but in your style.
Okay. All right. So suggestions, but not specific suggestions.
It depends on the actual the level. Well, not the level, but the popularity of the artist too. Like
Yeah, of course.
uh, I would think Pushead, Luke Priest, Dan Mumford. I think they're getting pretty much close to just free reign because whatever they do, it sells no matter what. So
Yeah. Well, it's just
yeah,
like anything. The bigger you get, and the
yeah,
more
the
brand
less
recognition your name has,
yeah,
you can do whatever
the
you
less
want.
strings you have. So
Yeah, you pay your
yeah, I
dues.
think I think that depends.
All right. And who are the big names? I know Monk One, Ames Brothers,
Emic,
Ken Taylor. Yeah, I've never. Is it EMK or Emic? Is that how you say his name? Emic?
EMEK, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, EMEK. Yeah.
yeah.
Who else do I know? Yeah, Ken Taylor.
Dan Mumford,
I know Mumford. I don't think I knew his name was Dan, but yeah.
Maxer,
Who?
Maxer 242.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Mexican, right? Or Mexican American, I think.
He's definitely, yeah, I think, yeah, he's definitely Latino in the States for sure.
Yeah, I think he's in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of
Um,
them I know from Pearl Jam posters.
yeah. My favorites, definitely Luke Priest. Love that style. Um, Dan Mumford. And then even going back, Derek Riggs, of course,
Yep.
Pushead, Ed Repka. Does that ring a bell with you?
No, never heard of him.
Megadeth.
Oh, he does the Vic Rattlehead stuff?
Yeah, like
Or
the
did?
Rust in Peace, Killing
Ah,
Is My
okay.
Business. Those album covers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he did all of those. He's I love that style.
No, I've never heard that name, and it's
No?
funny how sometimes we. Here's a name for you. Maybe you don't know this. Tommy Pons. He did the I don't know if you know this band. He did the Dangerous Toys clown on their on
Oh,
all their
okay.
albums.
I've
So
seen that. Yep.
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 Kind
Yeah.
of a theme throughout. Yeah, similar to
Yeah.
Megadeth and Iron
See,
Maiden.
there's so many.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep track.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I guess a lot of the album cover guys who like oh, what's this kind of more recent guy? Claudio Ber Bermangeni? He's got an Italian name.
I don't
Um
know.
yeah, I've heard his name. He did the Judas Priest Firepower cover
Okay.
and
That's a
Classic
cool cover.
78 and Igniter and who else? Ken Kelly, the guy who did Love Gun and
Hmm.
Destroyer. He died, I think, last year.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, I know some names, but I know them more from the album covers rather than the posters.
True.
All right.
True.
And what about you? You've also done some, and you can explain this. Some I guess it's official work for the Metallica fan clubs, right?
Yeah, years ago I designed surfboards for Kirk and Rob.
Ah, I didn't. That wasn't what I was asking about, and I didn't know that. But that's pretty
Um
cool. Tell me about that.
yeah, like 2006.
Hmm.
Through the fan club. Yeah, there's I guess like a contest in the So What magazine
Hmm.
where they asked, design some surfboards for Kirk and Rob. So yeah, I just, what the hell, I'll give it a shot. So I entered and I sent the package out, and like I didn't hear anything. And then maybe 3 months later, I get this humongous box delivered, and it's a real surfboard that was Rob, signed by the whole band.
Full size surfboard
Full size
with
used
your,
real surfboard.
and you didn't know you were getting it until it showed
I
up
had
at
no
your door.
idea because back then it was like internet wasn't what it is now.
Yeah, of course, no social media.
So yeah, I didn't actually find out until it was printed in the next So What magazine. But
Wow,
yeah,
that must have
it
been,
was it was it was very cool.
yeah. Oh, that's unbelievable.
Very
Imagine
cool.
opening your door and there's
Yeah.
a UPS with a giant surfboard.
And then they did like a whole spread in the So What magazine, which was pretty cool too.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. So
Um, well, what I was asking about or wondering about was the not the official fifth member fan club, but the chapters.
yes.
So you do those, right? Or you've done,
Yes.
I know
Yeah.
you've
I've
done at
I've
least
I've
three.
done
I can
them
think of three.
for
Philadelphia recently.
yeah, just finished Philadelphia. I think I started the first one was I think it was actually like Australia. Uh I don't know, 2019 or 2018 or something like that. And then it just caught on. I think I'm up to close to 20
Oh, wow.
chapters
Oh,
around the world. Yeah, so I just finished Philadelphia, which I'm sure you've seen.
the bell.
And
Yeah.
then I just got a request from Reno, Nevada to do there. So I'm working with them right now. Yeah, but I've done stuff for obviously US, Canada, South America, Russia, uh, England,
And how
Tanzania.
does that work? So let's use Philadelphia because that was the most recent one.
Sure.
So who do you, is it, do they contact you just because they know that you're kind of, have a reputation for this?
Yeah.
How does it work? Tell me the
Yeah.
process.
So like in that, I guess in that the chapter world, with every new design you do, you're just getting more and more of a reputation. So um, yeah, I don't even have to advertise now. It's just
They call
every
you.
once in a while I'll get an email or a text saying, I've seen what you've done with this group or chapter, and can you work with us and design a new logo? So
And
yeah.
do they give you direction or do they
Yeah,
give you free reign
sometimes they do. And like the gig posters, I try to design something
local?
with a little bit of the city,
Yeah.
involved. And yeah, like the Philly one I just did, obviously they wanted the Liberty Bell incorporated in there somehow. So I did, and now with the Reno, they wanted that sign. I guess the sign that says the biggest little city in the world or something
Oh,
like that.
yes, yes. Yeah.
So I'm working with that, and then I added in a bit of a kind of an old Western cowboy vibe to it. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. But I like doing that stuff. I don't like being so generic.
And who maybe this is a too specific a question. Who decides the colors? Is that you, or do you choose, like you said, maybe like a sports team, like you choose green for
Yeah.
the Eagles, or
Uh,
do they tell you we want these colors?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Mm.
It's more about, okay, they know the style they're kind of gonna get, so they'll usually say, could you add this or that? Uh, Everything else, you kind of have free reign.
Well, I guess
But
it's like
then,
any. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
yeah, then from there, I'll take it to, okay, this city or this group. I'll be like, okay, I kind of want to add this in to make it more their own.
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess it's like any graphic design, right? I mean, you get
yeah, yeah,
feedback from the client, add this,
exactly.
take this out, change
Yeah.
this, make this bigger, make this smaller. We don't like this.
Yeah, so during that initial kind of conversation, we'll talk about that, and then I come up with a pencil sketch, send it to them, and they'll kind of tweak things here and there. Yes, this, no, that, and then I go nuts from there and finish it out. So, but yeah, it's that process has worked out pretty good.
And these are, even though they're fan club chapters, they're official, right? Like these
They
have to
are
be
official,
approved
yeah,
by Metallica.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, is that because you're using their logo?
Yeah, they just and even when you do the artwork, it actually has to be approved by the fan club and management because
Mm,
you're putting in their logo. So
mm.
um, there's a bit of a screening process after the fact. So yeah, you gotta keep in the lines a little bit too on how far you can go or what you can put in these designs. So um, it can be tricky sometimes.
But I would think that's a good way to get your foot in the door, right? I mean, if you've done about 20 of these, Metallica management,
That's the
they
plan.
they know you, right? I mean, they must
That's
be aware.
Yeah, that's the plan. So, I don't know, one day I'm hoping, and if it doesn't work out, it's like, yeah, that's okay. But it'd be nice, yeah. At least one would be
Yeah, maybe one
fantastic.
is all you need. And then and here's another question. Does it matter, or is it helpful, or is it important if you like the band or not? Let's say you somehow got a call or a contact from a band that you don't like or you've never heard of before, and they say, "We like your work. Well, we want you to do something." Would that be more difficult for you to do than a band you like?
Yeah, funny story. So the company that I've worked with out of New York City, um, they asked me to come up with a package for Devo.
Mm, the band Devo, Whip It,
Do you
Whip
remember
It. Yeah,
Devo?
of course. That's it. I mean, one hit wonder, and that always sounds like a
Yeah.
bad thing, but one hit is pretty good. Yeah,
So
Devo.
I actually had to do a lot of research and stuff on their band, and because honestly I had no idea what they were up to,
Yeah.
uh, what they look like now, what they wanted. So yeah, it definitely helps if you know the band.
Yeah, it
Absolutely,
makes it a little bit
absolutely.
easier for you.
Yeah. Um, I've done a few designs for Testament,
Mm,
Death Angel, Exodus, other stuff where it helps so much if you're into that genre.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, you
just
can use yeah,
it
you can
makes
use,
that
album,
process so
things
much easier.
from their lyrics or
Yeah,
album titles, you can
yeah,
kinda work that in, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, with Devo, what do? You put Indiana Jones holding a whip or
I
something with
know,
it?
and those fucking red hats.
Yeah, the kinda cone hats and, they were wearing silver suits or something, no? And
Yes,
sunglasses?
yes. Oh my god. So,
Yeah, and
l
maybe that's too obvious to,
needless
to
to
put
say,
something like
I didn't get the gig.
how long ago was that?
Probably about a month ago.
Oh, really? Yeah, because I have heard something recently about Devo that they're playing festivals, or I think they might even be playing a festival in Mexico called, there's one in a couple of weeks and a big festival every year called Corona Capital. Paul
Yeah,
McCartney is headlining one day, and I think Devo might be playing on that one. Or there's
okay.
another big one in Mexico in March every year called, what's that one called? Viva Latino is coming up. Corona Capital. But I think Devo is playing one of those in Mexico City.
Okay.
I had no
I didn't
idea they
even
were
know they
even
were
around.
still together, honestly.
No, me neither. I just heard their name recently,
No
and
idea.
yeah, maybe they were, gone for all these years and then they come back.
Even, yeah, Blondie, I did their European tour poster
Mm,
for 2024. Yeah, and that was a bit of a bit of a struggle in, what they wanted. I think I came up with at least 5 or 6 designs, and they all varied a lot
mm.
'cause I wasn't really sure what they were looking for. So, um but yeah, it was a good, learning experience, kind of got you to think a little outside of the box,
Yeah, instead of
and,
skulls for everything, right?
yeah, and it worked out. No
Yeah,
skulls whatsoever. So, it was more of a an old New York City cab beat to shit with the band in the car, kinda rolling down the road out of New York City into the rest of the world for their tour,
they're
so,
going on tour.
yeah,
Oh, okay, that's
yeah.
cool.
So
And
that was fun.
getting back to this beauty, because I want to talk about it some more.
Sure.
So I mean, so you did this poster, and this was for a show that was almost 40 years ago.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know when you did it, but the show was almost 40 years ago. So are you always just kind of do it as an artist? Like, are you always doing stuff like that just to hone your skills and keep
yeah,
sharp? Because I mean, you're not going to sell this, right?
right.
It's not going to be, well, hopefully it would be one day, but it's not going to be on any t-shirts or, anything official.
No,
So I think, well, what's the point in doing it? But you got to build your portfolio, right? So do you
yeah,
just have like a bunch of stuff that you've been, that you work on constantly and you just kind of use it?
constantly.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm working on something every day, absolutely every day, so,
Yeah.
uh, and that's on top of, like, the regular day job, because that whole starving artist thing, that's real.
Yeah.
You know, there's not
Yeah. It's
many
tough.
that are making, millions and millions of dollars, but,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I
so
guess it's like, I guess like musicians,
yeah,
I would guess good ones anyway, they're always creating. You don't necessarily hear it on albums. Maybe you hear it 30, 40 years later on a, anniversary
yeah,
edition, or maybe when the guy dies or something. But yeah, I guess if you're a creative or in a creative field, you always want to be doing something.
yeah, it's almost like it's just built in where it's like, I cannot stop. I have
Mm,
way more ideas than time. I guess that's a good problem to
yeah.
have, but I just love creating new pieces, trying out new effects, new looks, all of that. I just feel compelled all the time to, uh, keep designing,
Yeah, I guess,
because
I mean, if
honestly, you'll never stop learning. You'll
mm,
never stop getting better. So, it's not like you get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm tapped out. I'm the best I'm ever going to be. So, but
yeah,
it's
it's an ongoing
it's it,
process.
yeah, it's my happy place. I love it, and yeah,
All
I
right.
don't think I would ever stop.
Well, you're very good at it, I have to say.
Thank you.
I always kind of struggle when I talk to, like I said, I have friends who do art like this and musicians that I'm friends with. and some of them I really, really, really love their music. And, it's kind of hard for me to talk about their music with them because sometimes I think, that, they just think I'm being nice because they're my friend or because I know them or something. And like, I want to say, no, no, I really, really like your music. Speaking as a fan, forget about that. Excuse me. I kind of feel that way with you. Like, you sometimes feel obliged to say nice things, hopefully, if you're a good person.
Yeah.
Um, but it's frustrating to think, man, I want this guy to know that I really, really like his honesty better than the official one. It's
That's
just like I said, love the colors.
yeah, I'm very humbled with that. I do get those comments, especially when I was doing a lot of the shows around Toronto. Um, tattoo shows, art shows, bike shows, whatever. And people would just, some people would just go crazy over it. I'm like, uh, I take it with a grain of salt. I definitely don't have a crazy ego about it.
Mm,
I really appreciate people even just stopping by and having a look and them saying, "Wow, this is great work." If they buy anything or they don't, it doesn't matter. But it's cool to be recognized, and that they would say something like that.
Oh, and that's another thing. I hadn't thought about this question, but since you brought that up, do you do galleries or exhibitions where you can show your stuff?
Yeah, I used to. I was pretty gung ho for a good 5 or 6 years. And I did actually do like a proper art gallery showing in Paris, Ontario.
Mm,
And it was part of what was the show called? Sex, Rugs, and Rock and Roll. I don't know how the rugs came into it, but
sounds like how a Japanese person would say it.
yeah, exactly. So that was a cool experience where people kind of reacted different because they walked into this gallery expecting to see one thing, and then they see this stuff, and it's like, whoa, this isn't quite the gallery type of artwork that you would
Yeah.
normally see. So yeah, it was a great experience.
Were you wearing a black turtleneck?
No.
That's how I picture it. I don't know why.
That's right. That's right. So I'm and I did a lot of shows, but it was just it was getting too much. It was draining.
A lot of
Where
schlepping, right? You
a
gotta
lot of
yeah.
schlepping, and it's your regular 3-day event actually probably works out to 5
Mm,
because it's the prep and then the takedown and all that stuff afterwards, and
yeah.
then set up, takedown. You're on for 3 days straight with people and talking and talking and talking, and by the end of the weekend, you're drained.
Yeah.
So
Mentally tiring, I guess.
yeah, so I've kind of stopped doing that. I have enough work, commission work, where uh, I don't have to do those shows anymore unless something really cool pops up. But I would say the commission work is it's really keeping me busy.
Oh, good.
And I love the way that I can do it. I can just sit on the couch and draw on my iPad for a few hours a day. And it's, yeah, none of the schlepping, you know, with
All right.
those shows.
All right. All right, cool. Well, we'll wrap it up here, Bry. Thank you for answering all of my questions,
Awesome.
things I've wondered about. Just the last thing, if you want to promote yourself, anything that you think anybody should know about you, if they want to ever look at your stuff, this is your chance to
Yeah.
plug yourself.
Uh,
Go
so I do
plug
have a
yourself.
website. I'm gearing it more towards the portfolio stuff and not so much towards merch and prints and stuff. So that would be metalheadmafia.com. And I also do a lot of posting and whatnot on my Facebook page, just Brian Bones Jones. I do a lot of work with the Metallica chapters through there, which is great. That's about it. Nice and simple.
Okay, cool. Well, so for everybody, if you want to take a look at Brian's stuff and maybe someday in the future say, yeah, I remember when that guy was a nobody on this other nobody's channel. You can go back and look at that. All right. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thanks, Brian. Thank you for your donation, and thank you
Yeah.
immensely for the
You are
posters. You have no idea how much
you
I would
are
love
are
these
very
posters.
welcome. No, I appreciate the kind words afterwards. I wasn't sending the money or the prints for any kind of adulation or whatever. I just thought you would appreciate it.
Very much appreciated.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you, Brian, for your time and for everything you've done, and thank you to anybody who watched this. And stay
Yeah.
tuned. There's I'm
Hopefully
not
there's
sure
at least one person still here watching.
if just one
Just
person
one.
watches this and gains something from it, then that's pretty bad.
That is pretty bad.
Yeah, that's a sad day. All right, cool. Thanks
True.
again, Brian. And if you're watching this, I'm still gonna do. I want to talk about this album and some other things.
Yeah.
That's all. I don't need to plug my stuff. You know me. You know the
Yeah.
space. All right. Thanks, Brian, and thanks to everybody. And see ya
Later.